Sam Bankman-Fried's sentencing, and Microsoft Unbundles. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Slack. Discussions, questions, and answers, and a place to talk tech with your friends. The MacVoices Slack is available to all patrons of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices and join in. Because I did have a couple more that I wanted to get to. I don't know if we will, but we'll get to all of them. But this one is not Apple. This was just a piece of information. We really haven't talked a great deal about the Sam Bankman-Fried situation and the trial and everything that surrounded that. I'm curious if anybody else was following this.
Oh, yes.
Because he just was sentenced to 25 years in prison today, or this week, excuse me. And now, of course, there'll be appeals and all that. But if you have any interest in this and you've not read it, Michael Lewis did a great job. I thought he took a lot of heat for it, just documenting Sam Bankman-Fried and his personality and the kind of person he was. I came away from that book feeling like this is just. He's one of those guys that is smarter than our entire panel put together squared. You know, he sees things completely differently than we do. And he made some huge mistakes. I don't know that there was anything malicious about anything he did. So that's my personal takeaway from the book. And I'm going to throw the link, the Amazon link into the chat. So if any of
Chuck,
you,
there's a difference between acting maliciously and not seeing anything wrong with what you're doing.
And what is that called? Sociopath. That's
sociopath. There you go. I knew someone would come to the table for me.
Yeah, presidential material is what it's called.
I don't resemble that at all.
And in the case of Sam Bankman-Fried, he really, really doesn't think he did anything wrong. And it was interesting reading articles and following along with this. NPR through the whole trial has done a really great job of getting legal experts and other field experts to talk about what's going on. And they had a legal expert that was was talking about the sentencing, and he said that when he was watching Sam make his speech at sentencing, he said it was clear that no one was believing a word that was coming out of his mouth. Because he was saying, well, there were some mistakes made, and I made I made a few judgment errors, but I'm just so sorry. And no one was believing that he was actually sorry. He couldn't convey that emotion, and based on what came out of this, and how many people were just genuinely screwed over in horrible ways, I'm actually surprised that the sentence is only 25 years. But yes, you're right. Of course, there's going to be appeals, and it's a whole process. But wow. Oh, and his family, they were the same way. They did not appear to have any sense of remorse other than Sam was going to jail.
And we don't have that money anymore.
Yeah.
No, there's that.
The one piece of analysis I saw that the judge seemed to take into account, and I was not clear on whether they actually said it or not, that they were concerned that if Sam was out and got out again in any kind of short-term time, that if he did get back out, he would probably do the same thing over again, largely for the same reasons, not necessarily malicious, just that this is he saw opportunities to do things that he thought would be better for the world, and he was willing to take the chance on doing it. I don't know.
I would be surprised if he was let out into the world during the appeal process.
Mark says, okay, Mark, you may have to interpret this. SBF is an MIT 6-3 comp sci nerd. No emotion allowed. I get MIT. I'm not sure what 6-3 comp sci nerd refers to. So if you can clarify that, we'll tell everyone.
Or just go to the chat where we'll have it laid out there.
Yeah. Has anybody read Michael Lewis's book on SBF? You did, Eric? Brian, what'd you think?
Yeah, I thought Michael Lewis came off as really, really light on compared to the crimes that were committed and what was going on. Now, granted, during the writing of the book, my understanding is the trial hadn't started yet, so it was early on in the process and maybe not as much evidence had come out. But just his, he seems just, treated like he wasn't doing anything wrong. But maybe he was doing it to get closer to the subject of the book and be able to get more information too.
I mean, as I recall, Lewis was not there to document the bad stuff that was going on. He was there trying to do a story on Sam Bankman-Fried and, his whole philosophy of benevolent capitalism, I think it was, or I forget exactly what the proper term was, but that's where, and he just happened to be there as things were falling apart. And so I took the other thing away from it, Brian. I took it that this is more just objectively what I saw. I'm not necessarily passing judgment. I might be explaining what I think I see, but there was not saying bad SBF. So I don't know. That was my takeaway from it. Okay, so Mark in the chat room has explained, and MIT degree programs have numbers. Something at AAK electrical engineering. 6-3 is computer science. Oh, okay. 2 parts of a joint ICS department. I was 6-1. I'm so sorry, Mark. I'm butchering the what you're trying to say. But anyway, no emotion allowed, I guess, puts a bottom line on it. Anything else on Sam Bankman-Fried?
I just find
Marty, sorry.
an interest in that these types of stories, Sam Bankman-Fried, and we go to Shkreli, the guy who paid, it was the drug company that had really overpriced pills that he was selling that got called. We have a fascination with seeing the downfall of these types of folks. And over the last couple of decades, we've seen more and more of them build up, whether they're tech giants or pharmaceutical giants, or in this case, cryptocurrency kinds of scams. Americans love to hear people fall, and bad people fall. So these stories kind of have that attraction for us. And I don't know what that's about. I think it's maybe what?
The word Schadenfreude. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Schadenfreude. Yeah. And I think that kind of feeds us in a way that when they come out, we like the depth of. We like to see people who have risen in a way that's not legal or ethical fall as high as from as high as they've risen to. So,
Marty, I agree with you as a general statement. I have not followed, nor could I care less about the other second example you used about the overcharging for the drugs. I think there was the cryptocurrency part that drew me into this. That there's a certain fascination with cryptocurrency, at least from where I sit, where it has been used, how it's been used, how it seemed Bitcoin seems to plunge and crash, then rise from the ashes and reach new heights. So that's my personal appeal to it.
Yeah. Well, he
Other
had to
than
pay his court fees in NFTs. So he had to cash in all his NFTs to pay his court fees. So.
that, there you go. There you go. We haven't used that particular acronym on the show for a long time. Have they gone away?
No, they have not. They, however, are not what they once were, and the people that were riding high on the value of their NFTs on paper.
Yeah, all speculation.
It was all speculation. So most of these people really don't have any money in their NFTs.
Last one for the evening. Part of this is just for David.
Well, you did do it.
I just had to bring it up that Microsoft
More you than me.
is now unbundling Teams and Office 365 for customers worldwide. Apparently, they were being required to do it in some jurisdiction. I believe it was over in the EU somewhere. So they just said, hey, we'll do it for everybody.
Well, it's going to put a big challenge on in the enterprise world of having to understand the licensing. I'm not one that works on the negotiations with Microsoft each year to negotiate the product, but yeah, they're going to have some interesting times here trying to establish how the licensing is going to be and how it needs to stay. You know, Microsoft Teams is a license as such that you only can have certain levels to what you want as far as what's accessible, like Teams Phone and many of the other features that Teams offers. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out in the enterprise world, at least in the U.S.
What I took away from this, David, is that Microsoft is suddenly running scared from what's happening to Apple with the EU, and they decided we'll just try to get ahead of it.
I would probably agree with that statement. Yeah, I mean, they've been down this road before many years ago with Internet Explorer. So why do they need to go down that road again with Office and Microsoft 365, as they call it, and Teams? Teams has become a huge player now. I mean, it's a Zoom-like player at this point, and should be established as a separate product in a sense to split away from Office and all the other products, even though it intertwines and works with it.
I hope this gives a little more life to something like Slack or some of the third-party alternatives out there, because I do think that some of those are superior to Teams. And this was another example of Microsoft flexing its muscle, trying to get people to engage in the collaborative space through Teams as opposed to something else. Again, that's an opinion.
Yep.
Hey, guess what? Just as we're ready to wrap the show, Mark Fucci is joining. Mark, did you make it in?
So what? Mark shows up. You'll say, "Hi, Mark." So tell us where everyone can find you, and we just end the show.
Oh,
there he
Underpants,
is.
Jeff. That's where they can find me.
Mark,
I've got that image stuck in my head now.
I am so sorry that I was butchering your messages in the chat, because I did not understand. So could you enlighten us as to what you were saying about Sam Bankman-Fried?
Oh yeah, I mean he was like Jeff pointed out, he's famously son of Stanford professors, and for people who know Eric Thiel, he said that the biggest thing he learned from Stanford was taking Bankman's tax law class, where he put all of his investments into his IRA. So when they went public, they skyrocketed in price, and he didn't have to pay any income taxes on them, because it's all perfectly legal. Sam, who I don't know, who's kind of an alum, but we're decades apart. Some of the best and smartest people I saw at MIT. They're fantastic. They were brilliant, but they had no human empathy, no sense of how to interact with other people. And so that's why I was making the comment I did, because I was listening to Jeff talking about some of his parole or sentencing hearing interviews, and that just resonated, very, very vividly. That smart, brilliant people, it doesn't matter, who gets hurt, because we're doing this. This is the right thing, and cryptocurrencies are great, and I'm doing all this stuff. I'm taking all this money, and somehow I'm going to help the world, which I don't know if he thought that was the reality. It seems to me like a scam, but that's just a matter of judgment. But at the end of the day, he was convicted basically of fraud. And smart people and average people and dumb people can all commit fraud. So I think this is. I mean, this is a tragedy. I think this is a tragedy in terms of parenting. I mean, how do you not create, raise a son who's incredibly brilliant, but has no sense of ethical boundaries? I mean, we could, I know the surest way to end this is to compare back to some of what the different Nazis were doing in the Third Reich. They just somehow were able to switch off their sense of human judgment and human caring. So I think this Sam Bankman-Fried, this story's not over. We're going to see more going on, as things go. And I guess the other thing a lot of people compared it with was Bernie Madoff. Well, Bernie Madoff was an old man, and there was a lot of speculation that he confessed because he just got tired of bearing the weight of perpetrating his fraud and moving it forward. So it's interesting to watch from afar. There's a lot of other things out there. There's March Madness. There's a political campaign coming up. There's all sorts of things you can pay attention to. And I'm reminded of that's from Macbeth. It's fraught with noise upon the stage, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
There's a title for the podcast.
I just think it's a fascinating story. And the only thing, Mark, I will add one more thing on SBF. He apparently had succeeded in inadvertently recruiting people to this philosophy of his. And I've heard a couple interviews with some of them, and it is fascinating to hear younger people at the start of what should be their careers, could be their careers, talking about how, well, if I have any spare money, I'll just donate it to somebody with no consideration of taking care of themselves for later, for a family, for retirement, any of that. That he had his philosophy seemed to be that I can do so much more good if I take the money, all this crazy money I'm earning, and donate it out to other people that know more about what to do with it to help people. And
I don't know enough about his philosophy to know if it was decoupled from any sense. Because again, he should have learned, at MIT that, you don't go open loop, that you need to control things and you need to measure. And if you want to take money and give it to causes, you should be able to figure out, is it working or not? And if it's working, reinforce it. If it's not, pull the weeds up and, redirect the money stream somewhere else.
Yeah. Like you said, we're going to hear a lot more about this. And I would encourage anyone, if you have even a passing interest, to check out Michael Lewis's book. See if you agree with me, see if you agree with Brian. But we definitely would be interested in your take, whether you get to say it here in the chat room or send it to me at chuck@macvoices.com. Guys, this has been a great discussion. Thank you so much. We covered a lot of ground. We're going to cover a little more by going around the room and letting folks know where they can find you. And then we'll get out of here. So first up, I'm just going to keep the order we started in, unless you've rearranged yourselves, which you may or may not have. David Ginsburg, thank you for being here. You're coming up on a special anniversary, as I recall.
I am. Thank you for having me, as always, Chuck. You can find me at InTouchWithIOS, InTouchWithIOS.com. I am going to be celebrating my 300th episode, having Chuck and
Nice.
Jeff and Mike Potter and Kelly Gamont's going to join too. So we're going to have just an absolute blast and reminisce a little bit. And I've already gone back into the archives to see when you guys have been on the show, and I'm looking forward to talking about that and just going back in that archive. So many episodes, crazy. And I started listening to a few too. It's going to be a crazy time, but we're gonna have a blast. But in the meantime, you can find me on the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/InTouchWithIOS. I'm here on Tuesdays. I'm on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network on Fridays, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65. Thanks so much, Chuck.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you being here, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Brian Flanigan-Arthurs, thank you for all your economic analysis, along with all the other analysis. Where can folks connect with you?
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm here on most Tuesdays. And then you can also find me on Mastodon, Brian8944 at mastodon.cloud.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
Sure, thank you.
Marty.
Siri talking?
No, that's the A lady.
Oh, A lady.
Seem to appreciate the fact that I thanked Brian.
Don't we all?
So what I'm hearing is that the A lady has more sense of emotion than Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah.
It's SPF to you.
I would ask her,
right.
but we may be here for a while. Marty Jencius, get me out of this. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, where can we find you?
At Jencius at mastodon.social. You can find me here on Tuesday nights, the Tuesdays I can be here, and any other place that people ask me to be, or my two podcasts, Tech Savvy Professor and also Circular Firing Squad.
Great. Thank you, Marty. Eric Bolden, I can't wait to see what comes next. But for you and your Goldfinch, where can folks connect with you?
Well, we can be found at EA Bolden at mas.to, and then I'm also at EA Bolden at techhub.social on Mastodon. And who knows, I have no idea now what the weather's going to be like, what birds will show up, where I'll be. It's a mystery to me, too.
It's okay. It's just as long as you document it in photos, we'll all be happy. Jeff Gamet, I could ask you to document things in photos, but that would just go so wrong so quick.
Don't do it,
Or
Chuck.
it might go so right.
No, I don't think so.
I'll draw you a picture.
That's what I'm afraid of, yeah. Where can folks find you?
Well, when I'm not drawing you those pictures, you can find me on social media, Gamet. I'm active on Mastodon and Instagram and Threads, but I'm like on all of them with that name. Then for podcasts, how? I don't know why, but how? Here I am on MacVoices Live on Tuesdays. And then on Thursdays on Dave's In Touch with iOS, and 300 episodes. Holy crap, that's so cool. And then on the British Tech Network on Thursdays for the Mac Show, Fridays. Nope, that's backwards. Thursdays for the Big Show, Fridays for the Mac Show. At least I caught it this time. And also Brian Chaffin and I do the Context Machine.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. When Guy Serle's not here, he's investing in microphone futures. Guy,
Yes.
where can folks contact you to place their order?
Oh, it's so easy to do. You would send me an email to guy@mymac.com. Of course, I'm doing the mymac.com podcast with Gaz. So I did it with Carl last week, and we went through a bunch of AI programs live, which is not great audio, but I'm sure was funny video. You can also find me over on the X's as Mac Parrot and Vert Shark. I am Mac Parrot on Counter Social and Mastodon. Oh my, we have a Google Voice number, 703-828-4677, that if you call outside of the US will likely incur some charges. So just send me an audio file in all the other various ways, and you will get a Woody. Don't ask what a Woody is.
I'll draw you a picture.
Yeah, Jeff will draw you a picture of what a Woody is.
I just like the idea of running up your phone bill myself.
Well, it wouldn't be my phone bill. Wouldn't be
Google's.
mine.
Oh.
It would be whoever it is that's trying to call.
Oh, so I have to pay to call to give feedback?
No, not in the United States.
Oh, okay.
But there may be charges incurred if you're calling from Europe or UK or Africa or, any other place that's
Papua New Guinea.
Papua New
Australia.
Guinea, and they don't have a whole lot to spare. They're like about 30 billion. So,
Yeah.
Fiji.
don't do it, guys. Just send it to me in an email. So much easier.
Thank you, Guy.
You're welcome.
I love your twisted sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I work at it. I really work at it.
Yeah. Mark Fuccio, I'm glad you got here so that we could understand your reference to SBF as well as other things. Where can folks connect with you? Oh, you're muted, Mark.
As always, Chuck, thanks for the invitation to be here. And I was surprised I was actually able to join given my other competing Zoom meeting. And for viewers, I apologize for having to recycle last week's background because I didn't have time to create a new one because I didn't expect to be here. But easiest way to get me, I'll give you two ways. In cyberspace, you can get me at X at Mark Fuccio at MarkFuccio. And in the real world, I'm about a 2.5 mile radius from the center of Apple's spaceship. But if you go imagine a circumference going around that will be 2 pi times 2.5 miles. So good luck for somebody to find me. I'll buy anyone who does a beer.
Ooh.
Okay. The race is
Cupertino is part of Flat Earth. I'm sorry. There is no circumference. There's no globe.
Yes,
You're
Jeff.
going to crap when all of us show up in a tour bus. If we just keep coming off the bus and we're all here for that beer.
Well, yeah, we do. And I haven't had lunch or dinner with Brian Chafin since before COVID. So, Jeff, I'd love to get together with you and Brian and we could have a great discussion. And, Chuck and any other panel members who get out here, can you say DC in June?
Cletus says challenge accepted.
Okay.
So not only will you have the panels, you'll have the chat room coming too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. Good to see you.
Thank you again, Chuck.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices Live. We do this every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. Join us. The chat room has been very active tonight. We've had a big crowd. Thank you so much, chat room, for all your comments and thoughts. Really appreciate your participation, as well as just your presence. What can I say? We'll be back next Tuesday. As always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.